Hello student, today we will discuss the next chapter of pharmaceutical jurisprudence, which is nothing but the Prevention of Cruelty to Animal Act, which is came in year 1960. The main objective of this act to prevent the unnecessary pain or any unnecessary damage which is to be caused to that animal during the experiment process. Well, we all know that in a modern days the animals are used as a experimental subject to carry out the research process because of their physiological and anatomical similarity with that human body. There is about 90% of veterinary medicines that are used to treat the animals have the same mechanism of action or very similar to those of developed to treat the human patient, where there is approximately 99% of DNA which is similar with DNA of mice. There are certain definitions which are included under this act. In that, first is animals means any living creature other than that of human being. Second is a board, where a board is nothing but the animal welfare board which is established under the section 4 of this act. The next is breeder. Breeder is not other than the individual who carry out who breed animal for the purpose of transfer to the authorized institution for performing the experiment. The committee is control and supervision on animals under the section 15 of this act. Establishment includes any individual, any company, any firm, any institution or any colleges who will perform experiment on animal, where the experiment is a procedure in that use of animal for the purpose of acquiring knowledge of biological, physiological, ethological, physical or chemical nature. The next most important point is Institutional Animal Ethics Committee, which is appointed by CPCSEA, that is Committee for the purpose of control and supervision on experiment animal, which is to be appointed by the government. This Institutional Animal Ethics Committee consists of one biological scientist. There are about two scientists which are from different biological departments. There is a one veterinarian physician, a scientist which is from animal facility of establishment which is to be concerned. There is a one scientist which is from outside of that institution. There is a one social person, a representative of CPCSEA for the supervision of experiments on animal. There is a one specialist who have done their specialty in radioactive substance or deadly microorganisms. All these 8 members of institutional animal ethics is constituted in every registered institute. All the research project proposals using animals such as rat, mice, rabbits or guinea pigs have to be approved by this institutional animal ethics committee before the initiation of experiment, where every member of this institutional animal ethics committee has right to question or reject any project or unapprove the proposal on a refer to the subcommittee of expert for the scrutiny and possible approval. This institutional animal ethics committee cannot approve research project on a large animal such as dogs, cats and goats. This now the committee for the purpose of control and supervision on experimental animals, which is to be appointed under the article 51A of Constitution of India, which for the to protect and improve the natural environment including forests, lakes, rivers, wildlife and have compassion for the live creatures. In 1960, the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act was formally made public by this by the Indian Parliament, where the section 15 of this act provide for the constitution by central government of India, where the CPCSA to supervise and control experiment on animal. The CPCSEA make a guidelines for the breeding and stocking of animal. In that, the first is breeding for the business organization, where the applicant or breeder must have to be registered and trade of animal for the purpose of experiment. For the registration purpose, the breeder have filled the specified format and submit it to the member secretary, which is to be authorized person appointed by that CPCSEA. They shall have to apply for registration within 16 days from the date of commencement of experiment on animal under the Act under the Rule 1998. Stop of breeding on animal in case the committee refuse to give the registration. The second is a guideline for breeder for university and colleges, where the government of India has set up the committee for the purpose of control and supervision of experiment on animal under the Ministry of Social Justice, where the headquarters for the CPCSA is located in Delhi. This committee shall look over the registration process. The applicant shall have to apply in a prescribed format for registration to the secretary or any authorized person or any officers of this committee. The application shall have verified information which is related to where the experiment has to be conducted, the animal house facilities, detail of breeding of animals and its traits, and availability of trained manpower for the handling of that animal. After a verification of all this information, if the committee is satisfied, the registration is approved for such a breeder. Every registered breeder shall have to comply all these conditions at a time of registration. They shall have to maintain a day-to-day registration of register of particular animal which is to be used for conducting an experiment with which include the number of animals, the species of that animal, the age or gender or any other information which is related to that animal. The committee or authorized person shall examine the registration during their inspection. If the committee or authorized person is not satisfied during the examination, they will give the opportunity to improve or may take appropriate action against that breeder. Next is a guideline for stock of animal, which is to the animals are stocked by the breeders and establishment. The animal houses where the animal are stocked should be located in a quiet atmosphere. The premises of that animal house should be clean and should be maintained in a hygienic condition. Animals shall have to be protected from extreme weather. The animal cage for small and stable and for large animals should be maintained so that they can live in a comfort manner. Proper care should be maintained during off hours or on holidays. The register establishment shall stick to the detailed specification which is laid down by the committee for housing, feeding, maintenance of various species used in a animal experiment. The cages and stables shall maintain the standard which is to be laid down by the Indian Standard Institution, where animal attendants must be suitably trained and experienced in their duties. Performance of experiment, where the main purpose for performing experiment is in that the first is to discover the new knowledge or chemical active compound. The experiments it is also used for saving or establish prolonging life, where the less severe suffering of any disorder or disease and combating any disease in human, plants and animals. Guideline for performing the experiments include the experiment shall not have performed in a public demonstration except school, colleges and recognized institution for attending purpose of manual skill. The person in charge of that institute should have to take a responsibility to perform animal experiment. In case outside of institution, the experiment should be carried out by that qualified person. All experiments shall have to be performed by or under the supervision of qualified person who have taken degree or diploma in pharmacy or in veterinary science or any other life science or animal technique sciences. Experiment performed with due care and humanity that after of during that experiment or after that experiment the animals are not suffering that unnecessary pain. Before and after the completion of that experiment, the animal should have to be take care under the supervision. During the operational procedure, anesthetic should be administered to the animal by trained person so that that animal are not suffer any pain or feeling pain throughout that experiment. Under the influence of that anesthesia, if our animals are recovered abnormal, or they may cause severe pain during the continuing the experiment, it shall be painlessly destroyed and discontinued the experiment. Experiment with that animal shall not be repeated if experiment is already pre-concluded. Pain on eye of animal by any chemical agent that should not be applied. Next is acquiring the animal for conducting any experiment, where every breeder has a register and shall apply for experiment activity permission directly to the secretary or authorized person of that committee, institutional animal ethics committee, by stating name of the species and number of animal which is to be acquired for the conducting that experiment. The committee shall scrutinize the application. If it is satisfied, may grant the permission for the conducting the experiment. While granting the permission, a condition is applied that animal are not suffering any unnecessary pain during the experiment. Person carrying on experiment on animal should inform authority about the completion of experiment for which the permission has to be granted. Contract animal experiment, where contract animal experiment or research shall not to be permitted to any establishment or any educational institution except with prior permission of that committee, where the collaborative research between two academic institutions may be permitted for such a purpose after the registration. Transfer of any animal for experiment, where the transfer of any animal for a sale purpose or to an unregistered breeder is not permitted under this act. A breeder can't acquire any animal by sale except from registered breeder. Acquired animal can't be sold except from registered breeder. Experiment in a production breed improvement program. Animal may be given out by breeder institution for domestic use only. Genetic experiment on rat and mice not available in India. In that case, the breeder shall take a permission from Institutional Animal Ethics Committee. Import of any animal available in a country is not allowed under this act. Record every register in a record that the every registered of breeder or any institutional animal committee should maintain a record of every animals and furnish them to committee from time to time. All laboratories shall inform exact number of animals which are used in a specific format for the secretary or authorized person. Power to suspend or revoke registration. The rules which are made by the committee are not followed or satisfied by the committee, then the registration may be suspended. The committee giving a reasonable opportunity for rectification, and after that the registration may revoke for a specific period of time. Failure of compliance of rules and regulations, the committee may impose pending or suspend the registration. During suspension period, the breeder shall take care of that animal, and the permission is seized to perform a experiment or acquire or transfer of any animal during that suspended period. Offenses and penalties. If any person breaks any order made by the committee under the section 90 or commits a break of any condition which is imposed by the committee under the section, then he shall be punishable for the fine which may extend up to 200 rupees. If any person in charge of institution has breached the condition which is imposed by the committee under the section, then that person shall be deemed to guilty of offence and shall be punishable accordingly. The penalty under this act is the offender will have to pay the fine which shall be extended to up to 50 rupees, and if it is case of second offence, subsequent offence, then there is a 3 years. Previous offence, then if the such a offence is done subsequently, then the fine up to 25 rupees, and about it may be extended up to 100 rupees with imprisonment for the term of not extended to 3 months or with both. Thank you.